Hi, this is Tammy, and I want to let you know that I'm going to be teaching a free masterclass on the 26th and 28th of August. In this class, I'm going to teach 3 steps to greater visibility at work. I'll be teaching 3 different concepts with practical steps that you can take immediately. These steps will signal to your leadership that you are ready to take on more senior roles in your organization. If you've been rocking it behind the scenes, taking care of business, but some days you feel downright invisible, or maybe everybody knows that you're the office go-to, but you still feel overlooked for promotions. Maybe you feel stuck on the sidelines, even though you're the one getting everything done, while the people you support get all the glory. If you've been hesitating to take on bigger challenges, even though you know you're a total rock star deep down. Or if you've been catching yourself playing the comparison game, looking at the other people who are succeeding while you wonder what's wrong with you. We've all been there. Or maybe you're just trying to keep everybody happy, and at the end of the day, you go home miserable. In this free 60-minute workshop, that's where it all ends. No more lurking in the shadows. This class will get you started thinking about all that's possible for you. The link is in the show notes, so register today. After all, you know that you've been ready to rise to more senior leadership, and you've known it for a long, long time. So decide that today is the day that everything changes. And I'll see you there. Again, the link is down in the show notes. Are you tired of feeling overlooked and underestimated? Hi, I'm Tammy North, the Introverted Executives Coach. If you're an introverted executive or you're ready to rise to senior leadership, but you're struggling to be seen as a high potential, this podcast is for you. Have you ever made a big mistake? I mean, we are all human, and just as I have done, you will make mistakes in the future, or you will have times when you do something wrong and you wish that you could have a complete redo. I'm definitely not perfect, and although I think you're pretty awesome, you're not perfect either. So you will do some things that you probably wish that you could take back. So take a moment and think about it right now. Do you have something in mind? Something you did that you regret? It's not really a problem until you start to beat yourself up over something that you've already done, something that can't be undone. Your mind is pretty tricky, and sometimes it can get stuck in a loop, especially if you feel shame, humiliation, deep regret, sadness, embarrassment, mortification, or maybe you even feel like you've been downright discredited. You might find yourself saying over and over, "Why did I do that? How could I have been so stupid? I'm a complete idiot." These types of feelings are powerful, and they probably make you want to go hide in a hole and never come out. In fact, it's possible that you're going through something like that right now, and you might think the mortified feelings and the embarrassment that you have right now will never end. You might be waking in the night while your mind swirls with images and thoughts of everything that transpired yesterday. It just keeps playing over and over and over while you feel powerless to make it stop. Are you actively avoiding engaging with your boss or with certain people at work because you just can't look them in the eye right now? Well, I have a few examples of these types of moments where I have done something, sometimes unintentionally, but sometimes I actually did something on purpose and I thought that it would come across completely different. Either way, I have had these kind of moments that leave me feeling quite embarrassed and ready to hide my head in the hole like an ostrich. I have one example I'll tell you. About 20 years ago, I was a young manager of a fairly large team, and a group of my peers and I were emailing each other about a new policy that our boss had just enacted. Of course, we were mildly making fun of him and complaining with some strong humor about the changes. Our boss had a unique spelling of his name, and I bet you know where this is going, but I used the email global address book so I could look up his name and make sure I spelled it correctly. Unfortunately, I forgot to delete him off the email, and I clicked send. And the very second I hit send, I remembered to check, did I delete his name off the email? And I saw his name. It was still on the email. Hasn't left my outbox. Oh my goodness. So there's a lot we can learn from this one story about what not to do. Trust me. But the main point that I want to make about this story today is how embarrassed I felt afterwards and how I could not stop thinking about what a stupid mistake I'd made. It happened kind of late in the day on a Friday, so I wasn't going to be at work to see my boss for the next 2 days. And this was a little bit of a blessing because I had time to process, but it was also a curse because if I'd been able to run right into his office and apologize, the painful part would have been over very quickly. But unfortunately, I had to wait until Monday to see him. And by the way, of course, we had a mandatory meeting at 8 a.m. on Monday, so there was also no way for me to avoid him forever. So all weekend, my mind just circled and ruminated and worried. What was going to happen? How could I fix it? That 1 second decision to gossip and dip into the muck in an email, especially in a way that deteriorated the organizational leadership, not to mention the just goofy mistake I made of adding the subject of our discontent to the actual email, I had made a big mess of things, especially in my own mind. I utterly could not think about anything else. And there have been some other times when I honestly thought I was doing something right, something good, something people would love, and then it went awry in some unexpected way. For example, some presentation or proposal that I submitted up to my leadership or that I was presenting in a conference situation where I was certain my team and I had developed an amazing plan, only to have it immediately and abruptly shot down in front of multiple other people. This is embarrassing to various degrees, especially when you were 100% sure you were doing something great, but then you suddenly discover you are clearly out of alignment and not understanding the strategic guidance or the intent of your CEO. When you receive that message in a very public way, it can feel humiliating. It's definitely humbling, and you might even feel kind of chastised, which hurts. So whether it's around a conference table or a virtual Zoom meeting or standing up giving a presentation, these moments can definitely have a lingering sting. In these cases, even though I did something on purpose, it still had me with a similar outcome of the email story where I just was thinking, how could I have been so wrong? How did I read the situation so incorrectly? Is there any way to fix this? Now, probably everybody thinks I'm an idiot. You get the picture. So why is this a problem? Both of these two examples are fairly minor things that could occur in any given work situation on any day. Sometimes they might be even more minor than my stories, and I'm sure that you can imagine it being much worse as well. Of course, there's plenty of things you could do to prevent these situations before they even happen, which obviously is the goal. But no matter what, you will likely make some mistake in your career or your life, and it's really the thoughts that you have about those mistakes that are the cause of your suffering. Negative thought spirals can be debilitating, especially in a professional setting where confidence and clarity are crucial. They'll keep you from walking through the world as your best self, and if you stay in these thought loops for too long, you'll begin to deteriorate your own long-term self-confidence. If you're looking to be seen as executive material, then there's a few reasons why you must learn to deal with negative thought loops. One is that it hurts your focus and decision making. You know from my experience, I've seen how negative thoughts can really sneak in and disrupt your focus. As an executive, you always have many things going on. You have multiple people you're responsible for, multiple projects, you're making decisions on the fly, and you're guiding your team. If those negative voices get too loud in your head, it can throw off your whole game. It can lead you to miss golden opportunities, and it can lead you to make decisions that you wouldn't have made otherwise. It's like trying to drive with a foggy windshield. You just can't see the road clearly. Another reason is that there's this ripple effect of leadership. Think of yourself as a lighthouse for your team. You have the vision, you have the attitude, and your mindset that will cast a light on everybody that follows. If you continually circle in a negative loop, your team might sense it, and then they can get disheartened. You have this unique power to uplift and inspire, and shaking off those negative thoughts helps maintain a positive, motivating atmosphere for everybody. And then there's your health and well-being. It's not just about your mind, but your body also reacts to your thoughts. So constant negativity can manifest as stress, as anxiety, and even as physical health issues like heart problems. It's like feeding your body junk food. You need to be in top form to lead effectively, and taking care of your mental health plays a big part in that, and that includes not letting your mind devolve into just severe negative thought loops. Then there's your personal growth journey. I've always believed that what we tell ourselves shapes our path. So if you're constantly battling with self-doubt, it might make you hesitate when it comes to taking on new challenges or exploring new avenues. Every challenge, every mistake is a chance to grow. And addressing those pesky negative thoughts can help you see these moments as opportunities, not setbacks. And then, of course, most importantly, maybe, is the vision and strategy. So here's the thing. When you're the person that's leading the team, or you're the person at the helm of an entire organization, you have the crucial task of steering the ship, setting the course for your organization's future. And negative spirals can cloud your vision, making it hard to plan long term. It's essential to keep a clear, optimistic perspective, ensuring that you're plotting the best path forward for everybody. Always remember, this journey has its ups and downs, and as your executive coach, I'm right here ready to support you through it all. You've got this. Getting stuck in negative thought loops can be challenging, but it is not a permanent state. So how do you know if you're experiencing these thoughts of mortification or embarrassment? These feelings pop up in multiple ways. Here's 5 ways that you might be experiencing them in your own life. 1 is, do you have nagging thoughts? Do you ever feel like certain negative thoughts just won't leave you alone, no matter how hard you try to shake them off? It's like a song stuck on repeat, right? Sometimes they're just about very specific events, like maybe the email story I told you. Or they might be general feelings of self-doubt. Either way, you have to find a way to deal with them. Another symptom might be your body talk. Your body has a way of showing what your mind is going through. Maybe you're tossing and turning, lying awake at night, or maybe you've noticed changes in your appetite. There's different ways that you realize that your body's kind of off kilter, and this could be your body's way of responding to these negative looping thoughts. Then, have you been feeling kind of low or anxious? Are you finding yourself more worried than usual, or do you just feel a bit down all the time? Sometimes when our minds are clouded with negativity, it dampens our spirits and makes us feel just that vibration of uneasiness all the time. And then if you've been struggling to concentrate, you can't focus, especially if those negative thoughts keep spinning, they can definitely make it tough to zone in on tasks, and it might start affecting work or even just general day-to-day things. If you find yourself in meetings or on a phone call and you just can't even hear the person directly in front of you, that they're telling you something that seems important, but it's almost like you have some sort of barrier and their words can't even enter your mind, you could be stuck in a negative thought loop. And then if you notice that you're doing a lot of avoiding, kind of steering clear of triggers, you're dodging certain places or people after a particular embarrassing moment, it's natural to want to avoid the reminders of our event. But sometimes we're going to miss out on things we really enjoy, including people. So it's best to process it when you can. Remember, it's completely okay to feel this way. I've got you. But let's get to the good part now. And I want to tell you a little bit about what you can do when you find yourself with these kind of thoughts on repeat. We can work through them together. Negative thought loops can be detrimental to your mental well-being, and it can hinder your ability to move forward after you make a big mistake. So I want to give you some good options, some steps that you can use to start working through your own thoughts and feelings and get back to making your mark on the world. 1 is to notice your thoughts. If you discover that you've got some negative thoughts popping up over and over, that's okay. The first step is to acknowledge them without judging yourself. Just notice them. Notice them with the full curiosity of a 7-year-old child who just found a sparkly rock. And then that same child runs to wash off the rock to get all the dirt off, which also makes everything look shinier and more vivid. Then they just sit there and turn the rock over and over in their hands. And they just analyze the full spectrum of everything it has to offer. Both the sparkles, the dark spots, the blemishes, the jewels, you name it, whatever is part of that rock, they will just analyze it for 5 or 10 minutes. And they'll even go show other people and say, look at my rock. Do you notice how it has these blue speckles here, but it also has this black line running through it? They're just super curious. You could take your own thoughts out of your head, put them on the paper, and do that exact same thing. This one action alone will make a huge difference in how you feel almost immediately. It's when you try to avoid or distract yourself or repress your feelings that will cause you the most negative feelings. It's all this avoidance and trying to get away from the feeling. These types of actions don't resolve the root cause of the feeling, but rather they'll actually make it feel worse. They'll amplify the feeling. So imagine that you're something like a great explorer like Indiana Jones, who just discovered something unique in a cave, and just have fun examining all the facets of your thoughts. Another thing you can do is question the thoughts. So once you get them out and you are looking at them and you're analyzing them, Ask some questions. I see the silver there. Is that really silver? Or is it really gold? Or is it iron pyrite? To continue the rock analogy a little bit further, but you know what I mean. Look at the little pieces of your thoughts and say, is that a fact? Or is there some way that I could see things from a different angle? I think you hear me say this on almost every episode, but if you take the time to write down the cold hard facts and separate your own subjective thoughts about those facts, doing this will help you to immediately gain perspective. And this perspective will help you to make a plan to get to the other side. And I definitely encourage you to stay present with mindfulness. Mindfulness techniques are a really great way to anchor yourself in the now so that those looping thoughts don't take over. One thing I like to do, especially in the moment that the embarrassing thing happens, is try to find some space for my brain to process. And by space, I mean even 1 minute where I can pause and get a hold of what is actually going on. Think of this in first aid terms. You can think about this kind of like a triage. There's a lot of things going on, but you need to ask yourself, is there anything that you must do now to get off the stage? And I mean not the theoretical stage, but whatever happened, you're only embarrassed because it happened in front of people. So how do you gracefully transition to a location where you can fully process whatever happened? One way I do like to do this is the deep breathing techniques. I like to picture the bad thoughts that I'm having, I like to picture them flowing out of my body as I breathe out and I breathe in. When I breathe in, I count and I feel the bright, colorful, beautiful thoughts flow in. This practice to me is a multisensory activity. I can see the thoughts. I can see the dark, the angry thoughts, the clouds that's like smoke and fire going out of my body. And then when I breathe in, I see the pastels, the beauty, the flowers. I see sunshine and sky. I smell freshness. And that's breathing out and breathing in. And very often when I employ these techniques, it not only pauses the long-term thought loops, but even immediately, right after the embarrassing moment occurs, right in the room, techniques like this will give you that moment that'll just help you keep yourself together long enough so that you can gracefully transition. And then remember, everything will help you grow if you let it. So what can you learn from this moment? And I often ask myself, okay, this moment feels bad. But then instead of focusing on that, I ask, okay, how is this happening for me? How is this happening for me? And then you can start to build a bridge. So let's come up with a believable thought that you want to think. Granted, there's plenty of thoughts that you believe, like you might be thinking, oh, I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have said that. What did I do? You believe all those thoughts, but you don't really want to keep thinking that. So you need to think of something you can believe that you do want to think. And you don't have to swap all the way to something, bright and sunny, or it won't work. You can think of something that you want to think that you also do believe. Something like, okay, tomorrow's another day. It wasn't that bad. I'll try again tomorrow. You start thinking those things and at least gives you hope. And then definitely lean in on your circle. You can call a close friend or a family member, or you can even call me. After all, executive coaches are skilled in helping you independently process these feelings in a safe environment. And then once you've had time to process, develop a plan to fix what went wrong and avoid it next time. Having steps in place will make you feel more empowered and less bogged down by negativity. Remember that breaking free from negative thought loops takes time and practice, so be patient with yourself and continue working on these strategies to develop healthier thought patterns and a more positive mindset. Okay, so you know me, I have an activity for you that you can work on this week. We'll call it Breaking the Negative Thought Loop. And the point of this activity is to understand and disrupt your persistent negative thought patterns and foster a more positive and productive mindset. So the first thing we're going to do is some thought journaling. To do this step, just get everything out of your head and onto a notebook or somewhere that you can, a notebook, a journal, a piece of paper, whatever. And then every time a negative thought surfaces during the day, write it down along with what triggered you to have the thought. You write down the trigger, try to make that as factual as possible. So you might want to say, oh, I feel like an idiot. Why? When I walked up to the front of the conference room, I tripped over a cord and people in the room laughed. So why does it help to do this? Well, by documenting your thoughts, you externalize them, you get them out. They become easier to analyze, that beautiful rock. And then if you also connect them to whatever you believe triggered your thought, then that will also help you to be better prepared in the future. For instance, when you write down the actual facts, you might realize in your brain that only one person laughed when you tripped. but also 7 other people asked you if you were okay. And then you can challenge and reframe your thoughts. And this is getting to that thought that you believe, but also that you want to think. So ask yourself, are the thoughts I'm having based on facts or are they based on assumptions? And is there another more positive way to interpret the situation that I actually believe? And then what advice would you give to a friend who was expressing this exact thought? And then write down a slightly more constructive or positive interpretation next to all the initial negative thoughts that you wrote in your journal. And this helps because challenging thoughts can break the cycle of your negative thought loop. It interrupts your acceptance of the negative assumption. So rather than just automatically assuming that the negative assumption is real, it focuses you to go, no, 7 people didn't laugh, 1 person laughed, and then 7 people asked me if I was okay. And now it doesn't really seem as bad. The more you practice these activities, the more resilient you become when things don't go your way. This topic is really important because in order to grow towards senior leadership, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone sometimes, which is definitely going to put you at risk for more moments that are uncertain, maybe awkward, or sometimes downright embarrassing. Luckily, these moments don't happen that often. But learning to manage your mind in these moments will help you keep on a path forward as you aspire to ascend the executive ladder. Remember, every thought that you allow to use your precious brain power will shape your own reality. They'll determine the decisions you make, it'll determine the way you see yourself, and ultimately the way that others see you. So by mastering your mind, you'll not only elevate your professional stock, but you'll also inspire and impress others around you with your ability to not be deterred from your goal and to maintain your grace under pressure. You can connect with me at Introverted Executive on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you're ready for executive coaching to help you achieve your biggest career goals, subscribe to my weekly Rise and Shine newsletter. There, you'll find out when my program opens for new clients, and you'll also receive weekly tips and activities to continue to make a bigger impact in your own powerful way. You'll find all the information and links down in the show notes. See you next week.